Welcome back to Lazy History Club, where the kettle's on, the fire is crackling, and the past is tastier and messier than your favourite snack mix. Tonight we're talking salt. Not diamonds, not oil. Plain, crunchy, life-saving sodium chloride. In 1842, it almost triggered a mini-civil war in the Kanawha Valley of then Virginia. There were monopolies, sabotage, weaponized tax laws, and one very confused militia, all over table seasoning. So grab something salty, settle in, and let's watch an entire valley get into a briny brawl for the ages. Before refrigeration, salt was the hard drive backup of food. Meat, fish, butter, hides, wounds, everything got packed in the stuff. Lose your salt, lose your winter. Kanawha Valley had brine wells bubbling up from ancient seabeds. By 1830, it was America's salt superstar. 50-plus furnaces roaring day and night, barges of white crystals floating down the Ohio, and fortunes piling up on muddy riverbanks. With fortunes come people who hate competition. Enter a circle of wealthy salt barons who decide free markets are for suckers. They form something called the Kanawha Salt Association. Part cartel, part gentleman's club, all monopoly. They'll set the price, set the quota, and if you're a small producer who doesn't like it, too bad, the barons own the riverboats. The state legislature, smelling campaign donations, quietly blesses the association. And just like that, salt goes from seasoning to power play. By late 1830s, the association fixes prices so high that Midwestern towns start calling Kanawha salt white gold. Small furnace owners watch profits evaporate. Farmers up the hollers can't afford their own pork brine. Then the association pulls its boldest trick. It persuades Richmond to pass a production equalization tax. Every bushel of salt, large or small, owes a fee to fund river improvements. Translation: pay tribute to the monopoly. Cue outrage. Local editorials brand the barons brine kings. Preachers preach about the sin of salting the poor. A young lawyer named Andrew Donnelly organizes a producers' committee whose entire platform is "break the cartel before it breaks us." When polite petitions fail, the committee drafts a less polite plan: shut the association down by force. They call it the Salt Raid, April 1842. Under moonlight, Donnelly leads 50 men, farmers, coopers, rivermen, down the valley road. They carry axes, torches, and buckets. First target, the association's main warehouse. They smash locks, roll barrels into the Kanawha River, and watch thousands of dollars in salt hiss away, literally returning to brine. Next stop, the brine pumps. Raiders hammer wooden wellheads to splinters, yank iron valves, and dump sand into shafts so the big furnaces can't draw brine. One crew spikes a boiler's flue, another saws the rope on a barge, setting it adrift. The valley wakes to salt smoke and angry bells. Barons telegram the governor. Insurrection! They demand militia protection. But the local militia captain, he owns a small furnace. He sends back, formally requesting more information. Eventually, the governor finally dispatches state troops. They march in, bayonets fixed, only to discover that half the valley is related to someone in the raiding party. Farmers jeer, barons demand arrests. Donnelly files an injunction claiming the association is the real criminal. Richmond lawyers descend in muddy boots. Court dockets list the Commonwealth versus 52 buckets of salt. Witnesses argue whether salt destroyed is legally theft or public seasoning. One judge asks if he may taste the evidence. Clark politely declines. Meanwhile, legislature debates repealing the equalization tax. Lobbyists pass out cured ham labelled taxed to death. Newspapers as far as New York run headlines, "Salt War in Virginia, brine boils over." Under pressure, the state proposes a deal. Drop charges, dissolve the association, refund excess taxes, if the raiders stop wrecking stuff. Donnelly agrees on 2 conditions: amnesty for his men, and salt to be regulated by open market, not closed club. The barons cornered sign while glaring over their quill pens like villains in an oversalted opera. The barons aren't done. They sue for damages in Federal Circuit Court, arguing that the settlement violated their contractual right to collude. They phrase it more politely. Donnelly countersues for years of price gouging. 2 cases tangle their way to Washington as Kanawha Salt Commerfoo's Staatsman, 1844, a real decision whose opinion politely calls the association inimical to Republican enterprise. Translation: take your monopoly and shove it. The court rules partial victory for Donnelly, partial for nobody. The association's charter is void, but damages are modest. By then, new brine fields in Michigan and Louisiana flood the market anyway. The Kanawha Barons' empire dissolves, like, well, salt in water. The valley never regains its salty crown, but it keeps its furnaces. When the Civil War erupts, West Virginia splits from Virginia, thanks partly to these very economic grudges. After 1865, entrepreneurs repurpose brine wells for chlorine and chemical plants. By 1900, Kanawha is the chemical capital of the world, manufacturing bleach instead of bacon cure. And Andrew Donnelly? He retires quietly, rumoured to season his food with, ironically, very little salt. And that, friends, was the great salt raid of 1842. Proof that even the most ordinary mineral can ferment into monopoly, revolt, and a Supreme Court showdown. So next time you sprinkle fries, remember, people once torch-raided an entire valley to keep that pinch affordable. Stay lazy, stay curious, and never underestimate the power of seasoning. The end.